Everywhere we turn, there is AI. And we are told over and over to just put some great prompts into AI and it will do the heavy lifting for us, including churning out a full-blown digital course in just seconds. And in a time when everything seems to be going AI gung-ho, it is tempting to rely on artificial intelligence to do the heavy lifting for us when we are creating online courses that have so many moving parts, so that we can also still make dinner, run errands, relax with a great book, and enjoy everything that we want to in our lives. But can AI truly capture the nuances of human learning? I'll go ahead and let you in on the answer. No. AI cannot capture all of the nuances and the science behind learning that is needed for a course that delivers results for our students. It can do a lot, but I'm going to draw attention to 3 elements that AI cannot replicate because AI is here to stay. And at the end of the episode, in our 60-second solution, I'm going to give you a few things to look out for to ensure that you are creating an ethical online course, even if you do use AI to help with some of the content.
Anyone can add a digital course to their business. So what sets the 6-figure course creators apart? You're about to find out. Welcome to the Digital Course Creator Podcast with Dr. Maura, a longtime entrepreneur now using her PhD in psychology to help you go from sticky notes to sales worth celebrating.
As someone who is typically quick to adopt tech and new approaches, I always do so with skepticism. And with AI, I have actually been very slow and exceptionally skeptical as an academic to incorporate AI into my life and my business. I'm a big fan of being real, being human, coming up with and sharing my own ideas. And it probably comes from years of being required to think outside the box, to generate unique and new ideas, and being constantly aware of the risks of plagiarism. But I do recognize that AI is likely here to stay, and many course creators are using it. I see ads all the time talking about putting in specific prompts and getting out a course that is ready to record in just minutes. But we have to remember a few things. AI can, yes, generate content. It can generate ideas on how to create visuals. It can even automate certain aspects of course delivery. But it lacks the human touch that we need and crave for building an effective and engaging learning experience for our students. Think about it this way. How many times have you put something into your favorite AI tool and gotten back the word delve, D-E-L-V-E? How many emails have you opened and instantly realized that someone put a topic into an AI generator and asked for an email about that topic, and then they copied and pasted and hit send? I can see it in my students' work on tests when they put an essay prompt into AI and then they just copy and paste the AI response. Here's why. It lacks authenticity. It lacks a normal speech pattern, writing pattern. It feels disconnected. Almost like the disconnection you and your stomach feel when you're going down a roller coaster. It's kind of uncomfortable, right? Your stomach is in a whole different place than your body. It's intriguing, but it's uncomfortable. And it makes it hard to connect to. The last thing we want is to make it hard for our digital course students to find our course unengaging or cringeworthy because it is so obviously AI generated. AI also lacks the active learning in delivery that we know based on science is necessary for the best outcome. We can't just sit in a chair, listen, and experience success. We have to do. It is why I ask you to take action at the end of every episode of this podcast. It is why I try to give you examples that resonate that you can apply to your own life. It isn't just about delivering bullet points, but it's about making those come alive. Make those bullet points make sense. The truth is that AI does not let us, as course creators, create a personal connection with our students. It takes the human out of it. And that leaves our students feeling like they are kind of out in the cold without boots, mittens, and a coat. And I don't know about you, but if I'm cold, I'm cranky, I'm frustrated, I just want to go inside despite the beauty of the snow. Put another way, if our students are frustrated with the lack of connection a course brings, they are going to want to give up and walk away from our course. So how do we marry AI and being human so that we create a course that works for our students and helps them meet the course objectives. We have to focus on 3 elements that AI cannot do, but we can as human course creators. First up is to focus on the power of real-world examples. AI is fantastic for generating some facts and figures, which may or may not be true, but it's good at it. And you might have noticed that if you ask for an example, if you want an authentic real-world example, they're kind of canned. They don't feel relatable. They don't feel like you. They kind of feel like everyone would say, oh, that's a fake. That's AI generated. Sometimes those examples don't even apply. They just feel off kilter. One of your superpowers as a course creator is the stories that you can tell to make the ideas and the key points come alive. As humans, we connect so much better. We remember so much more when something's relatable. Give us a chart of numbers and we have to labor over remembering them. Give us a good story that applies to the concepts and it becomes so much easier to remember and ultimately implement. Just stating the facts, the objectives, the key elements that we outlined when mapping our course or when we asked AI to do that is not going to be enough. For example, if you have a course on growth mindset for teens, instead of just defining what growth mindset is and the areas that teens are likely to find this difficult, give an example. Talk about Tony, the 17-year-old who was thinking about colleges and looking at his grades and realizing that his grades, his extracurricular activities, they were not going to get him into his dream school because he honestly said, you know what, I've been slacking off. And so he decides that he's going to aim for a lower tier school that's not really his favorite because it's going to be an uphill battle in his junior year to make any big changes. Now, his school counselor notices that Tony's kind of going to completely shift his goals and suggests that he looks instead at how has his mindset shifted? How have his goals required him to step up his effort and still shoot for those dream colleges that he wants? So now we tell a story. We start talking about what does mindset look like in a teen who's getting ready to apply to college, seeing that maybe they haven't gotten the best grades in freshman and sophomore year. Now you're starting to think, oh, well, I could see how a teen could slip into that negative thinking versus how can I turn this around, turn it to be my special story that I tell in my essay, in my personal essay. How can we implement growth mindset here? Now you've got a story. So as course creators, we can see how sharing that story of Tony and the teen mindset shift could work, how it could apply in their situation. It's more than a definition. It's concrete. Those stories, the analogies like I gave at the beginning of the episode, comparing a clearly AI-generated experience to the uncomfortable feeling of being disconnected to your stomach when you're on a roller coaster, those real-world examples and analogies make it easier to connect with the information. Remember that inside our brain, here's the psych professor and me coming out, the inside of our brain is essentially a web of experiences, very much like a spider web, where everything is connected to the other things in our memories. When we tell stories, it's a lot easier for the new information to be connected to stuff that's already in our web of experiences. It makes it stronger. It makes it much more likely to stick around. Just like the things that come in contact with a spider web get stuck, so does the new information that we are presenting to our students in each module and lesson. Stories make the info stick. So first up is to make sure that we're adding in relatable examples. This is something AI just does not excel at. Second, an element that AI cannot give us that we absolutely need to add to our digital courses to boost student retention and success are active learning opportunities. Yes, AI can generate quizzes and multiple choice questions, but it is not awesome at designing truly engaging and effective learning activities. Don't get me wrong, you can use quizzes, you can use multiple choice questions to check for understanding, and even to give out badges of achievement if you're gamifying your course. But this is not the same as hands-on practice. Research has shown us that we do our best learning when we are actively involving ourselves with the information. In the case of a course, that means going beyond listening to some videos and taking notes. For a course on photography, it might mean asking your students to pick up their camera while they're watching the course video and changing the camera from automatic mode to manual mode. Changing the f-stop, zooming in or out with the lens. This brings the instructions and the process to life for the student. For a course in accounting in your business, it might mean opening the tracking spreadsheet that was provided with the course and asking students to begin filling out the different elements, from expenses to income to Stripe fees that you pay. AI isn't great at helping us to come up with the detailed hands-on approach to learning, even when we're in a digital space. Part of this active learning approach that we can add into our courses also requires that we add in a layer of empathy. Because let's face it, the first time we change a camera from automatic to manual mode, it's going to result in some pretty wonky pictures. They are not going to be our best attempts, and we might be tempted, as a result, to go right on back to automatic mode. The first time we start looking carefully at our expenses and realize just how much we are spending on domain names that we aren't using and have forgotten to redirect to our main website is a little embarrassing. We need to show up for our students in those moments and offset the shock and the clumsiness with stories of how, we went through the same thing. We came out stronger, and this is why we're offering this course. We can empathize that, yeah, it shouldn't feel this hard, but sometimes it does take time. It stinks when it feels this hard, but keep going, because where you're going to end up is so much better. This kind of human empathy helps our students to feel seen and heard. And even more importantly, it helps them to develop some resilience so they keep trying to master the skill or, decide which domain names are on the chopping block when renewal comes around. By creating active learning opportunities and adding in that element, that foundation of human empathy, we are creating a safe place for our students to learn the material that they've come to learn in our course and put into action what we are teaching them. This is the psychology of learning that AI misses. This is a big part of why AI-generated digital courses have a lower retention, completion, and success rate than a human-created imperfect course will have. And that brings me to the third human element that we absolutely cannot get from AI, and that is support. Once again, you might be thinking, okay, but AI has chatbots. They're great. FAQs can be powerful. And you know what? Chatbots and FAQs, they are powerful. I've talked about one of my favorite chatbots, Dottie, which is part of the Social Curator platform, but Dottie can't hold my hand. Dottie can't give me personalized feedback that addresses the little tiny nooks and crannies of my business or my course. AI cannot replicate that personalized feedback. As digital course creators, we have to constantly be on the lookout for ways to build trust and foster a relationship with our students. When we do this, they don't just sit behind their computer screen unnecessarily worrying about how to implement Module 6, Lesson 5 of our course. They know to show up to the support call, to our office hours, to the Facebook or Circle group, and ask the question. They don't waste days or weeks stuck. Now, you might be thinking about all the times you've signed up for a course and you've not had any level of support and it was just fine. We have all had those experiences, but we've also had more experiences that ended up with us getting lost or misunderstanding a key lesson or just never even opening the course because it felt too daunting, like it was going to take too much time and it was too big. There is an added benefit of showing up to support our students. And that is that we can adapt and adjust our course faster when new concepts pop up or the industry shifts, or we figure out that the exact same issue comes up for nearly every single student, and we need to explain it better. If we weren't linked to our students' learning journey in this supportive way, The change process is going to be a whole lot slower. And it is definitely something that AI can't do for us because AI doesn't know our students. They don't read our emails. AI doesn't see the community group posts that are worried or frustrated or celebrating a success. The live Q&A sessions, the one-on-one or one-to-group coaching calls, the feedback that we can give our students isn't something we can ask AI to do and then walk away while AI autopilots our course. Our digital course, if we want it to work and follow the principles of learning, has to include us as the course creator on at least some level. This week, I want you to take some time to reflect on your course content and identify areas where you can incorporate more human-centered elements, the things that AI cannot give us. We've talked about several today, but there are plenty more out there that impact the learning process of our students. You don't have to completely rewrite your course, but you can choose to record an extra example, add in a way to gather this month so that your course students can ask questions, and you can always add in a new resource that generates active learning and engagement. The key is to take action so that your students can take action. Now, one of the common challenges when you're creating a digital course is getting started. And so we hop over to an AI tool like ChatGPT, Gemini, or some custom GPT that you've created or purchased. And you put in your course topic and you say, hey, write me a course with 5 modules and 3 lessons per module. It churns for a few seconds, says sure, and it pops out an entire course. What used to take weeks, months, or years is now done in seconds. Or is it? If you are going to use AI in the course creation process, be sure to take a few steps to stay on the right side of ethical and moral boundaries here. One of the best ways to make sure that you are always sharing your work and not someone else's work or ideas inside your course is to make sure that you fact check everything. And if you share someone else's work, like in a curated course, that you are giving them appropriate credit and linking back to them. When AI spits out the course content, it is really hard to tell if they've taken someone else's model and given it to you. So one way to use AI, but ensure that the work is yours, is your intellectual property, is to tell AI to take these key module objectives that you're feeding it and these key module points that you are feeding it for each module and build it into a number of lessons. When you're the one that's providing the information, you are asking AI to help you organize it, and the information is much more likely to be your own intellectual property rather than someone else's IP. As you are preparing your course, using what AI has given you, just continue to fact check. Make it your job. Make sure that everything's accurate. Make sure it makes sense. And make sure that it's all yours. And honestly, double check those examples 3 or 4 or 5 times. So maybe more than double check, because AI gives you some pretty strange examples that do not apply to what you've been talking about in the lesson. The key here is, if you are using AI, to treat your course content to the same scrutiny that a research project would undergo. Make sure that everything you claim to be your own intellectual property or IP is actually your IP. Make sure to give credit where credit is due and be sure that the content is unbiased and respectful of diverse perspectives. Now, AI can be a valuable tool in the course creation process, but we have to remember the importance of the human element. That's what we've been talking about today. By focusing on creating authentic learning experiences, by providing personalized support, and by prioritizing ethical considerations, we can truly create something that's impactful, something that's transformative, that is going to go far beyond the limitations of AI. When thinking about all that AI can do for our courses, remember that digital courses are rarely a passive revenue stream. Even if you use AI to write your content for you, we still need to be involved in the learning experiences of our students. We need to provide personalized support. We need to create active learning opportunities. if we are going to truly be committed to being an ethical course creator who is delivering on the promise of our course. And speaking of providing support for our students, if you missed episode 225, The Power of Live Q&A Sessions, you are going to want to check that one out because we talk about the power of connection as well as how to run a live Q&A session, even if you have a very small group of students or alumni and you don't have a ton of space in your calendar. And if me bringing up, how many students do you have that have been through the course that could participate in these Q&A sessions, you're thinking, my list growth isn't anywhere near what I want it to be. It's kind of the bane of my existence right now. Check out episode 211 with guest Tracy Beavers, where we talk about how to build your email list every day without relying on paid ads. As always, thank you so much for listening in. If you found this episode helpful, please share with your entrepreneur friends and colleagues who are building a digital course in their business. And be sure to subscribe to the Digital Course Creator Podcast wherever you are listening to or watching this episode. Until next time, happy creating.